just to show you how great of a leader this guy is. And you could take a course on Napoleon that would take a whole semester. That's how important he is. Unfortunately for Euro, there's so much other stuff going on that we narrow it down to one day. Okay.
A semester
Now,
1 day.
Now,
Okay.
this is the map of Europe. Okay, when Napoleon basically comes to power. Okay, everything you see here in color. All this will be controlled by Napoleon.
What about the outside of the Austrian Empire?
The only thing that is not real, Napoleon never is able to take over is the United Kingdom. Okay.
And America.
Oh yeah.
USA.
And Asia.
Okay. So,
He also needs the Ottoman.
Napoleon goes back to France in November of 1799, does a coup d'etat. A coup d'etat is a sudden taking of power. Okay, using the military as support, he overthrows the directory. When your government doesn't have a military, your military is supporting the people that are taking you over, you pretty much are no longer in power. And in 1799, Napoleon becomes the first consul, meaning that he's now the leader of the First French Republic instead of the directory. He is so popular. He is beyond popular. Everyone loves him. He is so popular because he is so successful. One of the first reforms he does is get rid of all the debt and he makes France great again, basically. Okay, because he gets rid of the debt within 2 years. Can you imagine that? For the last 30, 40 years, France has had all this massive debt, and Napoleon's able to get rid of it in 2 years. And we'll look at why or how. He is so popular that in 1802, there's a plebiscite vote. A plebiscite vote is a yes or no vote of the people. And the people will vote on whether he should be consul for life, ruler for life. This is even after he dissolves the elected assembly. He says, I don't need them, I could rule on my own. And overwhelmingly, he gets elected as consul for life in 1802. Sounds kind of like a king. 2 years after that, he dissolves his own government and creates an empire. And he becomes, in 1804, Emperor Napoleon I, and this is the first French Empire.
Sounds so much cooler than king.
There will be a second French Empire.
What are you doing? You're taking videos?
Napoleon III.
You're putting a video.
No,
of the
no,
milk.
no. I'm not.
That's later on.
This is no, so we should do it.
Okay.
We'll understand it.
Why don't we do a short break?
Yes.
Okay. Moving
Block
back,
12.
guys.
At Napoleon, we have to focus on. We're focusing mainly on his reforms. Okay, because with Napoleon, for AP Euro, we look at his reforms. He's going to reform France, but every place he takes over, as you saw the map, as you see that map over there, every place he takes over, all these reforms will be put into place in those areas. Okay? Got it?
Yeah, that's right.
He's the one that gets rid of serfdom throughout Europe. He's the one that gets rid of slavery all throughout Europe. He's the one that gets rid of the old regime throughout Europe. He's the one that gets rid of all the laws based on social status and such. He's the one that changes all that. Now, what are some of the reforms he makes? First off, in 1800, he creates the Bank of France. Okay, he comes up with a brilliant idea. Okay, unfortunately, even to this day, we still don't use. Okay, he said, I don't know anything about economics. I'm going to create a division in government where people who have studied economics, okay, they're going to be the ones in charge of running anything that deals with government spending, government taxing, printing money. They're the ones that are going to be in charge of it, not politicians. Okay, this is how they get rid of the debt so quickly, because they come up with an efficient way of taxing, an efficient way of spending, okay, and all that kind of stuff. That's how he gets rid of the debt so quickly.
We should do that.
Yeah, you think?
Get Dr. Jackson.
Okay.
Why don't we do that?
Because politics.
Dr. Jackson.
And Dr. Jackson will watch
Everybody in this class is an econ plus year.
We've been over this like 12
I didn't know
Okay.
that.
You're not an econ.
Some of you actually go to class. Some of you actually go to econ.
Matthew.
Instead of skipping.
I go every day. I've gone to every day.
I've gone
That I've been president of school.
Yes, Kyle.
What was Karl Marx's ideas on labor?
We haven't learned about him yet.
I didn't know. I thought.
Okay.
That's communism.
No, like every day.
Now, another reform is the Concordat of 1801. Now, Napoleon realizes he needs the church, and the church needs him. The church is not officially back in France. The Pope wants to get all the land and everything back that they lost during the Revolution. And Napoleon realizes that if the Pope supports Napoleon, then everyone will see him as a legitimate ruler. So it's kind of, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. So Napoleon makes a deal with the Pope. Tells the Pope, you could get back your land that you lost during the Revolution. The churches will reopen. Catholic Church will be the official religion of the majority of people in France. And then you could support me as a ruler, the rightful ruler of France. This bromance lasts for a couple years. Okay? And for the next 2 years, they're like BFFs. Okay? Until 1803, when there's a break. Okay? When there's a break. Because in 1803, Napoleon actually conquers the HRE and dissolves the HRE. And the Pope says, whoa, that's the church. No, you can't do that. And Napoleon says, you can't tell me what to do, etc. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Then he just tells him.
Okay.
Is that how he got rid of the debt?
No.
Got 15 trillion.
Okay. Questions? So we have reforming economics, reforming religion. Okay. Notice these are all some major reforms. Okay.
What?
What, sir? It's almost like what? Great. Okay. Now, another reform he's going to do is the education system. He remembered back as a child that he couldn't go to the best schools because he wasn't rich enough. Even though he was gifted and talented, he wasn't rich enough to go to the schools after age 8 or 9. And that really bothered him. So he's going to create an education system for everybody. Okay, it's called the lycée. Okay, it's called the lycée. This is basically the intermediate between elementary and university schools. This is basically what we would call high school nowadays. This was a system that, yes, you still had to pay tuition for to go. But if you were gifted and talented and you couldn't afford to go, the government would pay for you. Okay? It's basically, so basically, if you were smart enough, but you just couldn't afford it, you still got to go. Those people that could afford it, well, they paid anyway. Okay? So it was a way to allow anybody, not just the upper classes, to go to school. okay, and have an opportunity. Okay, now these lycées are basically what we would maybe consider like a magnet school. Okay, these are schools where they have specialties like medicine, law, politics, arts, you name it. Okay, and they're still, of course, running to this day. This idea was to train the people for the future, make a better society, and for maybe even work for the government, etc. Okay. Speaking of government, he also reforms government jobs. That's called careers open to talent. Prior to Napoleon, people got jobs based on who they know, not what they know. Aiden might have gotten a job just because he might know people, or he came from a prominent family. Okay, he might have rocks in his head.
Yeah.
Okay, but he got the job because of who he knew. Okay, now Napoleon changes that. If you want a good position in government, there's a test for it. You pass the test, you're eligible. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you're from, it's how well you do on the test. So if you want to be the head of economics, you take this economics test, the person that gets the highest score will probably get the job. Okay. Questions?
Michaela? It'd be either Michaela, Karthik, or Tomas. Who do you?
What are we talking
Who would get the highest score on it?
It would be.
It would be Tomas, Karthik, or the senior Michaela. It would be me.
Eric and Rohan get good scores. Rohan got up to second.
Oh my God, doesn't matter.
What are you talking about?
Okay. Actually,
Oh no, not today. Just like in general.
now that you say that, almost all my kids on day one, most kids in day one actually are from econ. The way I did the schedule, it kind of forced that way.
Yeah.
Because everyone has science, and then
Hold on. So you make the schedules?
last year
Your
I did.
brother's a senior. How does he not tell you this?
You should listen to me.
I did your schedule actually while we were in Europe.
So you put me.
Your brother is going to Harvard,
You put
Kyle.
me in those classes with those kids. I have English sitting next to 3 of the kids that all we do is mess around.
Okay, well I don't know. I don't know you all.
What were you thinking when you
I don't
created
know you
14
all.
and 24 English?
You purposely
What were you thinking,
me and my
Mr.
sister in the
McCulloch?
same JA. You purposely did
Did you
that.
give me and Jillian the
I think
same
your
JA on
sister is my
purpose?
JA next semester.
I know. You originally had it, so I was in that JA too.
Did you give me and Jillian the same JA on purpose?
No. I didn't know you guys. I don't know who your friends are.
Because,
Maybe the same one.
Moving on.
Dude, I was last with all my friends.
1802.
So keep that up. Keep that up.
Okay. 1802.
Why did you put me in a class with Catherine?
Okay, 1802. This is like your 6th day here. Come on.
Dude, what? You haven't even been
It's not his fault he got 20 wrong.
Put it away. I was playing 8-ball. Come on.
Okay. Now, another reform Napoleon does is he hated the fact that if let's say Corey spent his whole life in the military, okay, but because of let's say he got shot, okay, and he loses his arm goes limp, okay, that means he gets fired from the military. Okay. No pension for him, nothing. And basically a lot of the homeless people in these countries were military vets because it's hard for them to get a job if maybe they're without an arm or a leg or whatever. Okay? Now, Napoleon hated that. Or if you're too old, if the government fires you because you're too old, he hated that. So what he creates is called the Legion of Honor. This was a veteran support system. He said the government should take care of you if you get injured during fighting, during war. He also says the government should give you a pension. If you go to Paris, in the center of Paris where Napoleon is where his tomb is, it's surrounded by the Legion of Honor. It's a military hospital. It's the early version of the Veterans Affairs Department.
Was there anything bad about Napoleon?
He was short.
His ego.
But like, policy-wise?
Policy-wise, not. He didn't give any rights to women.
So if it was like a modern Napoleon, that would be like. That's what we should do. We should.
Basically, Eric.
Resurrect.
Speaking of rights, he creates the Napoleonic Code. This is another reform that he instills everywhere, and even our American system is based on the Napoleonic Code. The Napoleonic Code basically says there's one set of laws for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Okay? Gets rid of the sumptuary laws, gain laws, those type of laws that, dictate social classes. Okay? If you commit murder, it's a crime no matter if you're rich or poor. Okay? So it's this principle that everyone is equal in front of the law. Okay? Now, it does not really address women that much. Women are given limited rights under the Napoleonic Code. Okay? But they're still considered subservient. Okay? Now, there are some cases where women are allowed to keep their children if their husband dies. Okay? There are some, but a lot of instances, for example, women lose everything if their husband dies or their husband leaves them. Okay? If Nick dies, okay, and Olivia is now his wife that is now basically doesn't have a husband and is has like 6 kids to take care of. What's gonna happen is okay, those 6 kids, unfortunately for Olivia, okay, are now going to they're gonna go bye-bye. Okay, they're gonna be given to his family or her family because it was seen as a woman cannot handle raising kids by herself. Okay.
We'll take care of it.
Just to show you
Wait a minute.
the ego that Napoleon had, here's Napoleon with God and his Napoleonic Code. Basically, his Napoleonic Code is very similar to maybe the 10 Commandments, according to Napoleon. That's how he kind of feels about himself.
Aiden, look.
What?
It's Eric.
Okay. Now, 1803.
Like, yeah, America.
Now you have Napoleon had this grandiose idea. Okay, he had this area called Louisiana. Okay, and he had this grandiose idea that he's going to go ahead and create a country from scratch. Okay, it's easy to create a country from scratch if there's nothing there. And there's literally nothing in this area. So he wants to come up with this idea and create this new country that he's going to design himself. It's going to be called
France too.
Louisiana.
New France.
France too.
Okay, New France.
France too.
Okay, unfortunately that takes a lot of money. And Napoleon has lots of wars that he's fighting in Europe. So this idea is going to go to the wayside. Okay, but he comes up with another idea. Yes, David.
Did Alabama really not exist at one point?
Sweet.
Yeah. That's
Why
part of
did-
Mississippi.
Why did we change that?
Why
Okay.
did we ever change that?
Anyway,
Well, Napoleon's not wrong. There's still nothing in that losing
hey,
that first
stop
area.
talking. Okay. Now, so Napoleon comes up with this idea. Okay, he realizes his grandiose idea will never come to fruition. Okay, so he's like, why don't we just do this? Why don't we sell this land to the United States? they're stupid. They'll buy anything. Okay, so he sends aides to Thomas Jefferson, the president at the time. Okay, and they talk to Thomas Jefferson to say, hey, this is going to double the size of the United States. Done. This is going to double the size of the United States, and we're only asking you a measly $15 million, which is about 3 times the national income for the year. How much the government spends for a year? It's 3 times as much. And Thomas Jefferson actually says no to this, because Thomas Jefferson was a constitutionalist. If it's not in the Constitution, he felt the president can't do it. Okay, and it was his aides that basically told him, this actually might be a decent, we want to have this idea of manifest destiny, where God says we should be a country from sea to sea. Okay, this might be a good way to obtain land fairly cheaply. Yes, it's going to put us in heavy debt, but you know what? It's going to be worth it down the road. And Thomas Jefferson actually agrees to that. And for $15 million, okay, they are going to buy this land, which does double the United States. If you think about this, nowadays $15 million could buy like a couple houses on Bayshore. Okay. Yes.
Is it true that Thomas Jefferson asked Congress, secretly, was like, can you just give me $15 million for no reason?
Well, he had to find money some way. It wasn't secret, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
We saw that land back. There's nothing important in that
He's right.
Okay. Anyway.
Besides the
Got
Orleans,
Chicago out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems better.
we got the
Now,
help.
a little something about his personal life. He's married twice. First time was the love of his life, this woman, Josephine. Okay, Josephine was from a noble family in France. She, during the Revolution, she watches the horror of her whole family dying, being killed during the Great Fear, and unfortunately, that stress made her not be able to have children. Okay, for her life, for her whole life. Okay, but Napoleon and Josephine really truly loved each other. Okay, they wrote letters to each other every day when he was out in the battle, when he was battling. Okay, unfortunately, Josephine also liked playing Scrabble, whether Napoleon was there or not. Okay, and unfortunately, she had a bad rumor about that, and everyone knew about it. But Napoleon loved her so much that he looked the other way. Okay. Here's Josephine's bedroom.
Not all women.
Okay. Now, in 1804, when Napoleon, now, actually, let me go back a little bit. When Napoleon obtains the HRE, and the church, the Pope says, whoa, you can't do this. Napoleon's like, do you know who I am? I'm Napoleon. Like, you can't tell me what to do. So Napoleon says basically, fine. You're disobeying me. He sends French soldiers to Rome, and he arrests the Pope. And he forces the Pope to come to Paris, because this is when he becomes Emperor Napoleon I. He forces the Pope to crown him Emperor Napoleon I. And, okay, you can see here's Napoleon already crowned as Emperor Napoleon I. When it's time to crown Josephine,
So bad.
okay, when it's time to crown Josephine, Napoleon says, Pope, you're not good enough to crown my wife. And he crowns his wife
That's tough.
instead of the Pope, hence the face on the Pope. Okay, the Pope is like,
Big
you
man.
brought me all the way here for this, really?
Big
Okay.
Big man on
Now, kind of fun little fact right here. This is Napoleon's mother. Okay,
Photoshop.
and yes, Napoleon's mother is actually photoshopped in by Jacques-Louis David, one of the famous painters of the day. Napoleon's mother did not want to attend this ceremony because she despised Josephine because of what Josephine did to Napoleon, all the rumors and such. Okay, so she had want nothing to do with it. Well, so she never went. But to put her in the picture, Napoleon had David painted right here. Fun little fact.
He didn't seem like a bad guy. Just like cocky, but not like a bad guy.
He was, yeah, I think he was overcompensating, and I think he wasn't